Psychological safety. What is it? I mean, what does that even mean? And why do you need to know about it? I'm going to go through what happens when you don't have a psychologically safe environment, the benefits of creating a psychologically safe workplace, and the crucial bit, I'm going to discuss how to take it from a concept into reality using my 5 pillars of psychological safety. Before we delve in, I'm conscious you may not know who I am, so let me take a second to introduce myself. I'm Gina Botti, and I'm a world-renowned psychological safety and LGBTQ+ inclusion consultant and trainer. I work with multinational corporations, Fortune 500s, TV, film, and the global press. You may have seen me and my work featured on Sky News, in the BBC, Forbes, Psychologies, Cosmopolitan, Pink News, Vice, Diva, and Curve magazine. Before I started my own consultancy, training, and media company, do you know, it feels like a lifetime ago now, I was a teacher. I went through a really intense period of bullying at work for being gay, and as a result, I wasn't able to bring my whole self to work. I know that will resonate with quite a few of you out there watching this today. I didn't feel safe to speak up. And all of this, it had a significant impact on my physical and my mental health, not to mention my relationships with my colleagues and my teaching. This is what led me to create the 5 pillars of psychological safety. Both inspired and frustrated all at the same time, I decided to leave my job. And I set up my own company focusing on consultancy and training, specifically on how to create psychologically safe workplaces, how to embed the 5 pillars of psychological safety into multinational corporations, and LGBTQ+ inclusion training. Let's start where the term psychological safety came from. It was originally defined by William Kahn, spelt K-A-H-N. He described it as being able to show and employ oneself without fear of negative consequences of self-image, status, or career. Later, psychological safety became a crucial part of Amy Edmondson's research. Amy Edmondson is a professor at Harvard Business School. Amy defines psychological safety as, in the workplace, psychological safety is the belief that the environment is safe for interpersonal risk-taking. People feel safe to speak up when needed, with relevant ideas, questions, or concerns, without being shut down. Amy wrote a book called The Fearless Organisation, and in it she explores how organisations go wrong because people lack psychological safety and thus fail to speak up. In 2012, psychological safety was identified by Google as one of the most important aspects of building a successful team as part of a 2-year study that they conducted. The goal was to answer this question: what makes a team effective at Google? There were 5 key findings in this order. Psychological safety was at number 1. Google defines it as an individual's perception of the consequences of taking an interpersonal risk, or a belief that a team is safe for risk-taking in the face of being seen as ignorant, incompetent, negative, or disruptive. They stated that in a team with high psychological safety, teammates feel safe to take risks around their team members. They feel confident that no one on the team will embarrass or punish anyone else for admitting a mistake, asking a question, or offering a new idea. The second of the 5 key findings was dependability. The third was structure and clarity. The fourth was meaning. And the 5th was impact. Look it up. Project Aristotle. People were talking about psychological safety, but there were no real concrete strategies being talked about to create these safe working environments. Taking Amy Edmondson's psychological safety research one step further, and inspired by my experience of workplace bullying, I created the 5 pillars of psychological safety. The 5 pillars are the foundations and the building blocks being used in organisations worldwide to create fully inclusive workplaces. I'll introduce you to those in a few minutes. But before I do, my definition of psychological safety in the workplace is this. Psychological safety means that every single person in an organisation is able to bring their whole self to work. No hiding, no censoring, and no pretending to be someone else. From this space, people communicate and collaborate effectively, and a culture of curiosity and creativity is cultivated. Now, you might think that that's a sharp contrast to what you experience and witness in the majority of workplaces around the world, and sadly, you'd be right about that. You might be asking, why do I even need to know about psychological safety? Here are my observations. I work with multinational corporations on psychological safety and LGBTQ+ inclusion, and it is clear that a lack of psychological safety in the workplace is a global issue. In my opinion, it's only getting worse. It's really rare to find a workplace that is psychologically safe and actively encourages their employees to bring their whole self to work, especially those that identify as LGBTQ+. Here are some statistics for you to think about. In March 2019, the Society for Human Resource Management published their recent research on workplace violence, and in it stated that 1 out of 7 employees don't feel safe at work. You may also remember back in 2018, Stonewall produced the LGBT in Britain work report. I'm sure that you will have read it or come across that one at some point. There were 3 statistics in there that really stood out for me that I'd like to share with you. The first is that 35% of LGBT staff have hidden or disguised that they're LGBT at work because they were afraid of discrimination. The second statistic is that 26% aren't open with anyone at work about being trans, and this number increases to 37% of non-binary people who aren't out at work. The third statistic is that 31% of non-binary people and 18% of trans people don't feel able to wear work attire representing their gender expression. You spend the majority of your waking hours at work. So to show up and to not feel safe, to pretend that you're someone you're not, to suppress your natural behaviours and have to triple think everything that you say before you say it, it's just not good enough. No wonder the UK and USA face a significant mental health challenge at work. The Thriving at Work report, it came out in October 2017. In it, it states, there is a large annual cost to employers of between £33 billion and £42 billion, with over half of that cost coming from presenteeism, which is where individuals are less productive due to poor mental health in work, with additional costs from sickness absence and staff turnover. What do you think happens when you don't have a psychologically safe environment? Physical, mental and emotional health are impacted. You see increased absenteeism and you begin to see withdrawal behaviours. People shut down, feeling insecure, comparing themselves to other people, and they're not open and truthful. They go into self-protection mode. Conflict occurs, blame culture emerges, communication is strained and less effective, and this results in grievances, conflicts and liability risks. Poor performance and decision making starts to creep in. There are missed opportunities for innovation, a loss of productivity, problems go unreported. Corners are cut, there's a greater risk of accidents, incidents and injuries, and you see an increase in costs, which impacts on turnover. Any wrongdoing, unethical or illegal behaviour remains unchallenged and tragic failures occur, which could have been avoided. That being said, let's run through some of the benefits of creating a psychologically safe workplace. And I'm going to fire them off at you. So if you're ready, let's begin. Communication opens up, creating deeper connections between individuals and teams. People talk, interact, they ask questions, discuss their concerns, voice their ideas. When there's conflict or tension, it's resolved immediately. Respect and trust are established and interactions become more meaningful in teams. Lessons are learned and errors are viewed as learning opportunities. Continuous learning and reflection takes place. Feedback is sought and acted upon, and mistakes are talked about openly without fear. Creativity and innovation are sparked. Ideas are shared openly and discussed. Collaboration and teamwork is effortless. People act on their initiative instead of waiting to be instructed or guided. more informed decision-making takes place, loyalty is increased with more commitment from employees to the organisation. Workplace satisfaction is elevated and people actually enjoy their work. They want to come to work. Because people enjoy their work, your organisation experiences higher levels of engagement and active participation. People feel valued, included and inspired to contribute more. Confidence levels skyrocket, which creates a positive working environment for everyone. This, in turn, has a dramatic effect on mental and physical well-being of employees, which results in your people feeling safe and comfortable to bring their whole self into the workplace. No hiding, no censoring, showing up as their true selves, bringing with them all their life experience, their knowledge and their skills. That's what you wanted when you hired them, right? A diverse and talented workforce. Well, now you can see that in action. And your return on investment, your people are happy, they're thriving at work, and you see performance and productivity go through the roof. It sounds good, right? I know. Now, as I mentioned earlier, people were talking about the concept, but no one knew how to take psychological safety from a concept into reality. Until now, there was no blueprint for creating psychological safety in workplaces, a cohesive plan to take it from a concept to reality. From my observations working with ex-offenders, through to teaching in workplaces, and more recently consulting and training multinational corporations on psychological safety and LGBTQ+ inclusion, I could see very clearly that there are 5 key areas that organisations need to address. I created the blueprint for psychological safety, and I refer to these as the 5 pillars of psychological safety. The first pillar is self. Self refers to you. Who you are, what influences your thoughts and behaviours, how you cope with life, and how you show up in the workplace. The first pillar centres around the authentic self process. I created the authentic self process in 2004 when I was teaching adult ex-offenders. The authentic self process is a powerful 3-step system to release the masks you wear and the stories that you've created, so you can bring all of who you are to work and life. There are 3 steps to the authentic self process: raise, release, and reconnect. We begin by raising your awareness of the things that hold you back. Things like the masks that you wear, the labels that you carry, the layers that you built up over yourself over the years to hide the real you, the conditioning that you have from childhood, other people's expectations of you, the expectations you have of yourself, and the stories that you tell yourself and other people. Because let's think about it. When you go to work, you don't leave your baggage at home. You bring it all with you. You need to become aware of all that and release it before you can reconnect to your authentic self. The second step is to explore and release the unexamined thoughts and stories that you've created around past experiences. Through the soul work, which are a series of powerful questions, we strip away the power and hold that these thoughts have for you in all areas of your life. And the final step is to reconnect to who you really are, your authentic self. This is where we integrate my practical, everyday strategies into your life. Each of the strategies support you to be your authentic self and to strengthen your relationships with your loved ones, your colleagues, and your team. They're designed to ground and centre you, to slow you down and hold your attention in the present moment, as well as manifest the things that you want into your life. By raising your awareness about yourself, you will feel confident and empowered to bring all of who you are into the workplace and into your life. The authentic self process is the foundational building block for the 5 pillars of psychological safety. Without understanding yourself, you're going to struggle to bring your whole self into the workplace. The second pillar is social. This refers to how you interact with other people. Imagine everything that you've just uncovered about yourself. The person at the next desk to you has all that going on within them too. Now you know all this, social takes you through what's going on behind the scenes of your interactions with others, what influences how you respond and react in conversations, and how to use this knowledge to strengthen your interactions and connection with other people. The third pillar is collaboration. This refers to how you cultivate trust and work in collaboration with others. Here we look at the environment, the culture of the organisation, and how to empower and enable effective collaboration in teams. Safe spaces, ground rules, conflict resolution plans, the 4 steps to effective communication, and the foundations for exceptional team working. All of these are integral to powerful collaboration. The fourth pillar is curiosity. This refers to creating a culture of experimentation, contribution, and reflective questioning. Here, mistakes are made and lessons are learned. Constructive and active feedback is sought and received, and there's a willingness to learn, both professionally and personally. The fifth pillar is creativity. This refers to creating a culture where new ideas and alternative perspectives are welcomed. Here, everyone has a voice, and all ideas are valued, considered, and discussed openly. The 5 pillars of psychological safety and the authentic self process are principles and teachings that are applicable to workplaces and their people around the globe. In essence, they cultivate an environment where people thrive. I want you to consider your organisation right now. How would you rate your organisation in each of these 5 pillars? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to draw a circle on a piece of paper. And then I want you to divide it into 5 segments and write the name of each pillar on the outside edge, like this. Imagine that the centre is a score of 0 and the outer edge is a score of 10. I want you to consider each of the 5 pillars in turn and rate your organisation in terms of where you are right now. Pause the video after each of the questions that I'm going to give you in just a moment to give you time to think about it. Here are the questions. For the self pillar, where do you think your organisation is currently in terms of people being self-aware and bringing their whole self into the workplace? For the social pillar, how would you rate your organisation in terms of how people communicate and interact with each other? How effective are the interactions between individuals, and how strong are the connections between people? For the collaboration pillar, how would you rate your organisation in terms of cultivating the environment of trust and collaboration with others? How effective is team working, conflict resolution, communication between teams and departments? For the curiosity pillar, how would you rate your organisation in terms of there being a culture of experimentation, contribution, and reflective practice? And finally, the creativity pillar. How would you rate your organisation in terms of everyone having a voice and all ideas being valued, considered, and discussed openly? Now I want you to take a few moments to reflect on what all of that means for you. With that in front of you, I'm going to ask you some questions, and again, pause the video in between the questions so you can answer them as we go. Which of the 5 pillars scored the most and why? And which of the 5 pillars scored the least and why? What are the gaps for your organisation in terms of psychological safety? What actions are you going to take as a result of that awareness? What could you implement immediately? And what are you going to implement in the medium and longer term? Who needs to be involved? What resources, support and training do you and your colleagues need to advance this, to create a psychologically safe environment? Now, take a moment to write that up as a series of actions that you will take. Summarise your key points. Brilliant! You now have a plan of action. Time for you to get to work on that. Don't file it away. Take your first action today, if you can. Set up that conversation with your colleagues. Email the key people that need to be involved. and put into action the things that you need to do to work on you, to reconnect to your authentic self. And listen, if there's anything that I can do to support you with creating a psychologically safe environment, implementing the 5 pillars, LGBTQ+ inclusion training in the workplace, or if you want to begin by working on reconnecting to your authentic self, please get in touch. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and visit my website where you can book a time to chat with me. I hope you found this super useful and you've got some concrete actions that you can take back to your colleagues and to your organisation to make your workplace a safer place where everyone can bring all of who they are to work. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.